You're listening to Oilersnation Radio, a member of the Nation network of podcasts and delivered by DoorDash. 1 hour of straight hockey talk with Dan, Rick, and Tyler and Bag Milk starts now.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Oilersnation Radio, episode 153. I am Bag Milk. I'm here with Tyler Yamamoto, Nation Dan, and Rick. We are going to break down what was a surprisingly busy week for the Edmonton Oilers. A little bit of housekeeping, free agent signing, or extension. I don't know how you'd put it, but we'll get there. First, though, I want to shout out our friends at Sherwood Ford the Giant, making this all possible. Parts, service, new whip, whatever you need. Hey, when was the last time you rotated your tires? You listening to this right now.
I don't even know what that means.
What are tires?
Tyler, it is time to rotate your tires. Get on out to Sherwood Ford. They rotate every time I drive. What are you talking about?
You gotta send him the clip from I don't think it was David Putty, but I think it was the mechanic, Jerry's mechanic, the Seinfeld clip about all the 51% of turns are left-handed turns or whatever the hell it was.
Oh yeah.
So if you're Tyler apparently and you need a tire rotation, whatever you need, service, parts, new car. Maybe Tyler does need a new car because who knows when he's changing the oil in that fucking thing he's driving.
That was not a bit. That was not a bit. We just got to put that disclaimer out there.
Bag Milk, I don't need to change the oil. My car runs on gas.
Sherwood Ford the Giant out in Sherwood Park, Alberta is here to help you no matter what. Hey, it's August 13th. Before you know it, a certain season will be here and you want to be ready. Again, looking at my parking spot, no Bronco. No Bronco. We'll get there.
You know what we need to... Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Big Mel. Where do we follow them?
On Twitter at Sherwood Ford and on Instagram at Sherwood_the Giant. Go ahead, Dave.
I was just going to say, you know what we need to do, Bag Milk? We need to bring back Ask the Idiots, but we just have Sherwood Ford come and answer Tyler's questions about his vehicle.
Oh, that's a good idea. I forgot I brought back Ask the Idiots. I got to come up with some questions for you guys. Ask the Idiots. Shout out to North by North Gretz. First podcast I did. R.I.P. R.I.P. to Chris the intern, wherever you are. Jean shorts. R.I.P. too.
Watching his Titanic documentary.
Oh my God. You're going to get me on a tangent now where if you've been around the nation for a long time and you remember Chris the intern, I love the guy. I loved him more than anything. But one day we were sitting around the table at Nation HQ and he talked about how he thought Titanic was like a factual depiction of what happened. And we were like, what? He's like, yeah, like it's almost like a documentary, but not really. And I was like, in what capacity? And he's just like, well, because the Titanic. I was like, oh no, hang on. The Titanic did sink. That happened. That's 100% true. But like Jack and Rose, there's no 80-year-old throwing Le Coeur de la Mer into this ocean, if you know what I'm saying. But that's a story for another day. I miss you, Chris. I miss you. All right. Tyler, we're starting off with the Sherwood Ford Giant question of the week. We've got a little bit of housekeeping duty left to do around here in oil country. There's a guy, needs a new contract. Hit us up.
Kailer Yamamoto needs a new deal. He is the last sort of box remaining on Ken Holland's offseason checklist. Yamamoto pending RFA. The Sherwood Ford Giant question is going to be based around that. What should the contract or what could the contract be for the 22-year-old Oilers forward? I mean, everyone kind of remembers him bursting onto the scene with 27 points in 28 games a couple of years ago. He cooled off, 26 points in 27 games a couple of years ago. Cooled off last year, 8 goals and 13 assists in 52 games. He was snake bit for a big part of last season. Will it be a one-year deal? Will it be a multi-year deal? Yamamoto has no arb rights. The Oilers don't have a lot of money. What will Yamamoto's contract be? That is the Sherwood Ford Giant question.
Into it, like Tyler said, when he got called up in 2019, 2020, 27 games, 11 goals, 15 assists, 26 points. Dude was on fire. Nutramoto, that line was hot sex on the ice. But last year, not surprisingly, his production dipped a little bit. Sophomore slump isn't exactly uncommon in the NHL. I had no issues, first of all, with his work ethic. He's a dog on a bone on the puck, relentless worker, tireless forechecker, got all kinds of chances he just couldn't cash. So in 2021, in 52 games played, our Kailer Yamamoto had 8 goals and 13 assists, followed up with only 1 assist in the playoffs. Gentlemen, what does this contract look like? First, I want to start with just give me a number and what are we doing for term? Is this going to be one of those ones where Kailer Yamamoto signs a 1-year deal to bet on himself and say, hey, last year was an outlier. I'm better than this. If I cashed in even half of the chances I got that were just grade A chances, we're talking about a different scenario entirely. I bet on myself to do better this year. Or do the Oilers try and get him to go something like a Puljujärvi deal where it was, 1 and change, probably have to be a little bit higher than that, probably 1 and change for a couple of years to try and get a bridge deal? Or are they going to be a little bit gun shy on bridge deals after what happened to old Daryl with back-to-back bridge deals? A little bit of context, a little bit of flavor. Who's going to start off with what Kailer Yamamoto is going to sign for?
Well, first off, just the situation around this contract here. He's an RFA, but he has not accrued enough NHL experience to have arbitration rights. So Kailer Yamamoto's options for next season are sign what the Oilers put in front of you. And that's kind of it. Like, there's not a lot of choices. Yeah, or sit out, right?
Or sign an offer sheet.
Yeah, I don't know. Is he eligible to sign an offer sheet? I thought you had to be ARB eligible.
I have no idea.
I was under the impression he could sign an offer sheet.
Okay.
But I could be wrong.
Either way, if you want to sign an offer sheet, I'm not sure who's going out of their way to offer sheet Kailer Yamamoto. Point is, the Oilers have all the leverage in this situation. So Kailer Yamamoto, if it's more than $2.1 million, I'd be stunned. The thing to remember, though, the Oilers don't have a lot of money, so it's not like we're going to get a 6-year deal for Yamamoto at like $3 million per, and they're going to try to lock him in at like a reasonable price tag. They don't have the money right now to do that. It's unfortunate. The other side of this is Yamamoto's 1 year away from being arbitration eligible, so I don't see why he would want to take more than a 1-year deal, considering he's coming off a down year and he has ARB rights next summer. 1 year, $2 million. That is my prediction when you look at everything kind of around it with the arbitration rules.
I'm writing this down. We're going to post these on the old internet machine as the podcast goes, and we'll get some feedback live while we're recording. Well, not live for you, the listener, but live for us as we record. So we got Tyler, 1 year, $2 million. Rick, you are the first person I knew with a Yamamoto jersey. What do you say for our beloved Kayla?
You know what? You don't see a lot of these guys at his age in the RFA situation do one of those 1 year kind of show themselves. Even if he did have a great year, it's only really 1 year, and you can say, well, that was one good, one bad. Like, really, you're not getting anywhere with it. So it's going to be a 2 year. It's going to be, in the same ballpark as Puljujärvi, but probably a little bit more. So I'll give it 2 years. That's probably less than $3 million for the entire thing. But maybe wait at 1.5. Let's go 2 years, $3 million, 1.5 a year.
Okay. 2 years, 1.5 per. Mr. Nation Dan, you have heard the other guesses so far. You are third up. Kailer Yamamoto, what say you?
Well, I'm going to go the wacky route and say he gets offer sheeted, and I believe the Oilers would be forced to match it. I believe that they want not to lose this player, so I'm going to say Kailer Yamamoto, 2 years, $4 million per, because the compensation for that would be a second-round draft pick.
Do you think someone's going to offer sheet Kailer Yamamoto for $4 million a season?
I absolutely could you not see a scenario where a Buffalo, Detroit, Ottawa, any of those teams that have cap space to spare and a flyer to take on a guy like Kailer Yamamoto be willing to give up a second-round pick to have a chance at having a talented winger on your team?
No, because they don't offer sheet the best players in the world. They're not going to offer sheet.
I could see it happening.
Someone on his level. But when was the last time an offer sheet was handed out?
Years ago. Aho.
As much as everybody wants to be, GMs going after other GMs, there is a bit of a gentleman handshake type of a situation where,
that's fair.
They don't do that. They just don't.
It's possible,
and if you did that, you're opening yourself up to someone else coming back to like someone better than a Yamamoto, right? If you're in a situation a couple of years down the road.
We say that, but it didn't happen to Edmonton with the offer sheets that they did.
He almost had a fight in a barn.
But no real ramifications happened to that. Nothing happened to Montreal.
I want that barn fight.
Yes. No, nothing happened. Nothing happened. Contact us at Hockey Fights if Brian or Kevin are listening to this. We'd love to record that. But getting back to it, I could see it happening. Ken Holland has painted himself into a hole here, and yeah, we were waiting for that Clefbaum LTIR money to come around and save us, but I don't know. That's my prediction is 4.1. Is that what I said? Yeah, 4.1 for 2 years for Kailer Yamamoto by some bottom feeder team with cap space to.
So I'm putting this together.
And a bottom feeder team, he would have to sign that contract.
So
you can just make him come over there.
No,
I want to get clarification because I'm going to be posting this on Twitter as we're recording. 100%. So Dan, are you saying 2 years at 4.1 per or 4.1 total?
2 years, 4.1 is the AAV that he'll sign.
So someone's going to commit $8.2 million bucks. So I actually 100%. I did a Twitter search. I searched Yamamoto offer sheet, and the only fan base even talking about this is Flames fans. And wouldn't that be fucking hilarious if the Flames offer sheet to Kylo Yamamoto for $4.1 million?
I don't imagine that they have the cap space, but because they have to still fit in guys like Johnny next year. But yeah, I don't know. That's just I just have a weird feeling that Ken Holland has created a situation here that is just ripe for the picking. And why not pick up a 23-year-old that's showing that he can do it? You're paying him a little bit of change, but you're making a gamble that's probably worth it.
Half a good year.
Yep.
I think RIP to Dan's mentions as soon as this one goes out.
I'm all good. Let's go.
So I'll just wrap us. Wow, you rattled me. I was thinking about going a different way entirely, but you rattled me. So I'm going to go 2 year, $1.85 million as the AAV. I think that's, he didn't have a great year last year. Looking at his numbers again, 8 goals, 13 assists, 21 points, 52 games. That's not what you need from a top 6 forward. Now, again, I believe in Kailer Yamamoto, and I bet the Oilers do too. And I bet this kid believes in himself more than anyone does. So I bet he has a big year this year. And I don't think Ken Holland will want to do this again next year after a good season, a good rebound season from Yamamoto, because like Tyler said, he does got the arb rights next year. So that's what I'm going to say. 2 years with a $1.85 million AAV.
I'd love that deal.
I would too. And I'm hoping because he doesn't have any real options apart from sitting out that they can kind of grind him a little bit, though. I mean, that necessarily hasn't been the case for anyone else, but we'll get to that.
You can't grind out like your own guys. They can come back and grind you a couple years later. If we're kind of grind for like $250,000, is it really worth it when they come back and do it to you later on? We've seen a lot of different situations and a lot of different teams where that doesn't go so well.
Well, I mean, you did 1.5 over 2 years. I'm giving him a modest lift. So
I'll give you that extra little bit there. No problem.
I'll see what that. So just to recap here, if you're listening, Tyler's on the 1 year deal at $2 million. Rick is on 2 years at 1.5. I'm at 2 years at 1.85. Dan, I love Dan's tweet here. 2 years, 4.1 per. So that is now out on the old Twitter machine. Let us know what you think. Let us know.
I'm just adding the context for you, Bag Milk. I'm just going to add that I was including the offer sheet there.
So we will get some feedback on that as the podcast goes on. And I just retweeted it from the Daddy account. Let's see what kind of feedback comes in on this guest. So let's stick with Kailer Yamamoto just for a second before we move on here. Like I said, the guy, he works his bag off. He gets all kinds of chances. He is a filthy little thief out there when it comes to stealing the puck and creating turnovers, et cetera, et cetera. What does he need to do to ensure that all the work is not for naught this year, or just that he doesn't have another poor season? Well, by our standards, I guess. Tyler, what do you think?
He's just got to finish, man. Like we watched him last year. He got his chances. He didn't shoot the puck as much as he did in his first season, and the one where he kind of blew up there with Draisaitl and Nugent-Hopkins, but he got looks. He just didn't finish them off. I liked his game. The things that made Yamamoto effective in his first year, aside from putting up points, were hustle-based. He works his behind off out there. He forechecks hard. He creates turnovers. He forces the defense below the goal line. That opens up space for Leon Draisaitl. That's why the duo worked well. I know we're all laughing about shit happening online right now, but He just has to finish better. If he finishes more, he'll be a top 6 player for this team for a while.
100%. It's his work ethic. No one is ever going to question it. It's just, can he finish? Can he bump back up to where he was finishing at a couple years ago? Rick, what does our boy need to do to maybe have a little bit of a rebound in his second full year?
Tyler said it right there. The only thing he didn't do last year really was produce points. He's got to put the puck in the net, somehow get the assist, whatever it is. He's got to up his stats. That's it. Plain and simple, he does everything very well. Exactly what you want out of him. You just need to hit the score sheet now. Very, very simple, but very, very difficult to do.
Dan, Kailer Yamamoto is going to get a sizable raise in the world of analytic. What does he got to do to just outside of the money? What does he got to do to rebound to make sure that the Kailer Yamamoto we see in October is the one we need?
Well, you guys have already nailed it. He's everything you want away from a score sheet in a player. He's feisty, he's fiery, he goes into the corners, he battles, he's trying to create offense all the time. So that's an important element of it, that if it continues and the scoring comes along with it, we've got a hell of a player that's worth that offer sheet money that he's going to get.
Is everybody confident that he's going to rebound this year? Because I am.
He's talented enough.
I don't think somebody that works that be destined to fail. And he's obviously skilled. He's very skilled. So it's not like we got a plug guy who just busts his ass and works and grinds. That's not Kailer Yamamoto. He does all those things, but he's also got some touch.
And that's just it. And the big thing is if you're putting in that kind of effort, the coach is going to reward you with more and more playing time to get you off your schneid. So it's not like a case of a player in a slump where they end up getting sent down or knocked down the lineup to try and find their game. He is going to continue to find his way into the top 6 if he continues to play the way away from the puck that he does.
Well, I think we all are in agreement. Kailer Yamamoto. The contract numbers are a little different, but Kailer Yamamoto, we're all in agreement that he will rebound here in 2021-22. We're also in agreement that you, fair listener, and even the boys on the podcast should get something from DoorDash to eat. You can't feed yourself. I've been saying it for years now. DoorDash wants to feed you. They want to bring you meals right to your house. They don't want you to fend for yourself. They just don't want it. And I don't want it. You deserve better than the ham sandwich you were probably going to make for yourself for dinner. A little PB&J, that's fine from time to time, but let's level up.
They were also the originators to carry Arby's too, for the record. I just want to, if we're pumping tires here, they were the first ones to go into the Arby's realm. And I want to thank them, and forever and ever, I will be in their debt. So thank you very much, DoorDash.
I might even encourage you via DoorDash to go order yourself a beef and ched Big Mac, which we invented on this podcast, which is, of course, 2 beef and cheds. You just take off one of them buns and you stack them. Use your heads, people. It's delicious.
Yeah, Tyler, use your heads. What? Yeah, we promo code. It's ON Radio DD.
ON Radio DD. That gets you 25% off your first order and free delivery. ON Radio DD.
How unsure did I sound about that promo code?
Yeah, you didn't sound sure.
ON Radio DD. I got it right.
Oh, we got a confirmation. See, don't doubt yourself, Tyler. That's the lesson here. 2 lessons. 1, Tyler, don't doubt yourself. 2, beef and ched Big Mac. Make it happen. DoorDash. ON Radio DD. ON Radio DD. That's your promo code. Got it? Good. All right.
Also, I found out yesterday you can order PetSmart from DoorDash. So they have all kinds of unique offerings from their site.
Frank, where are you, buddy? You want a snack? Maybe later. All right. I'm going to order my dog a snack. I like that. Other news, Oilers actually took care of a bunch of news this past week since we last recorded. Next item I want to jump into is Tyler Benson. Tyler Benson signed a 1-year, 2-way contract with the Oilers. And my question for you guys is, when you think about Tyler Benson and you think about, I got rattled by people are being rattled by Dan. So Dan's having to keep explaining. He's like, no, there's an offer sheet. There's an offer sheet. I'm talking offer sheet. Okay.
Context matters, Bag Milk.
All right. So
I see what you did there.
Tyler Benson, 1-year, 2-way contract. My question for you is, you're looking at arguably one of the best forward groups that the Oilers have had in quite some time now. And That's going to make it tricky for a guy like Benson to break in, because I don't necessarily think you want him just playing on your fourth line. That's not the kind of player he is. So he probably has to be in the top 9 at worst. My question for you guys is, Tyler Benson, can he beat someone out on that left-hand side to stick with the big club? Or is it going to be he needs an opportunity with an injury or something like that before he can kind of crowbar his way in? Tyler, what do you think?
So the left side right now, Hyman and Fogle are 2 left wingers. Nugent Hopkins is likely going to be a left winger as well. Maybe he ends up sliding back to the middle of the ice. But if that happens, you would imagine Draisaitl's playing on a wing. So really, I think the only spot for Benson on this team is on the fourth line left wing spot. It's between him, Shore, and Lamborghini Brandon Perlini. So for Benson to get that spot, he's got to improve his skating, and he's got to prove to Dave Tippett that he can be trusted on the penalty kill. And if he does that, then I think there's a chance for him to be an everyday player. And I don't hate the idea of him being on the fourth line, because Tyler Benson's kind of past the point of just being a young prospect. He's 23 years old. It's kind of, maybe this is, a little bit doom and gloom, but it's make or break time, in my opinion, for Tyler Benson. If he comes into camp, skates hard, proves he can penalty kill, and can bring them a little bit of offense to the bottom 6, there's a spot for him on this hockey team, especially at his price point.
Well, that's one thing I should mention too, that as I was putting together the article for the contract extension that he just signed, it is worth noting that he has been killing penalties in the AHL. And he was probably he was kind of a jack of all trades almost for the Condors last year. Rick, do you think there's a scenario in which Tyler Benson beats someone out for a spot? Because if we're looking at that fourth line spot, that's, like you said, Perlini, Devin Shore's in the mix, unless he plays center. There's some guys that he'd have to beat out there.
Yeah, you know what? I think he does. I don't necessarily think he has to beat out be one of the top 4. He can always be the 13th or 14th forward. They kind of float around, give a shot in. I do think he'll be on the big team. He got some PK in down in Bakersfield last year. I think not as much as he'd like, but it is what it is. I think he was okay doing it, and he understands that that's what he's going to do up here in order to get on the ice, because you're 5-on-5 and no special teams. There really isn't place for those players anymore, right? Or there's only a select few spots, and I don't think he's going to get one of them. I think this is his time, though. This is his probably last shot with the Oilers. Like, maybe he's just getting surpassed by people on the depth chart. I think he's an NHLer, and I think it's now or never for him in this organization. I think he'll find a way in there. It's really going to come down to the coaching, though. If the coach is okay with playing a little more offensive players, then we're fine. But if he wants to go right back to those all-out defensive guys, he may get in trouble there. So, as long as, and I think Holland's built this team to be a little more offensive in all 4 lines and not be that shut down Devin Shore type of, 3 players like him on that fourth line. So as long as they're on the same page and he gives them the opportunities, I think he'll be okay here.
Nation Dan, is this the last chance for Tyler Benson with the Edmonton Oilers?
Well, I think Rick kind of hit it on the head for me. It's Coach Tippett. I don't look at Tyler Benson as a prototypical Coach Tippett bottom 4 kind of guy, or bottom 6 kind of guy. So for me, I think he probably has to fight his way through the AHL some more this season. And I look forward to him doing that, because I truly do believe there is a player there that is worth having on this team. But I just think that Tippett has a guy that he likes, and it's Devin Shore. And I think we're going to see more Devin Shore than we see of Tyler Benson this year in the NHL, barring, unforeseen injuries or anything like that.
He needs waivers though, right? So I think you might need to keep both Benson and Shore on the roster. Shore would probably clear waivers. Yeah. But there's no guarantee Benson clears waivers, man.
Yeah. I'm with Dan in the sense that just Tippett likes to play his vets,
That makes sense.
So I think it's going to be tough for Benson to crack the lineup, even though I think he probably should be. Checking in before we move on the old Kailer Yamamoto thing. So Dan's been working overtime, making sure everybody knows that it was an offer sheet. This one's from Marcel. It says, Yamo doesn't strike me as the type to sign an offer sheet. He has the opportunity to play with Draisaitl here, and I don't see him forcing the Oilers' hand on a higher salary. He knows if he's performing that it's coming. KEP says, should be 2 or 3 years under $2 million. Sean said, he's replying to me. replying to Stauffer. If you're missing out my stories to Stauffer, they're very funny to me. I don't know why I do it, but I do. I think it's funny.
Did you see Low Tide's response to me?
No.
I said Dan's thinking offer sheet, and Low Tide just said Dan's a mess.
Senior Body says 52 points in 105 games, and he's 150 pounds dripping wet. He is not a fan of the offer sheet idea. Free agent Frenzy says trade him and Cass to St. Louis for Tarasenko.
No.
I mean, I'd be open to that, but the Oilers don't have the cap.
Who says no there? Who says no?
Yeah, I mean, I'm like, what? Okay. Could you imagine Tarasenko ripping it up with the Oilers? Although the math on that, Tyler, how close are we on the math to Tarasenko? Let's do some quick Yaremchuk math.
So if it's Yamamoto and Cassian,
you raise the cap by $8 million. It's good.
It would have to be Tarasenko.
But it's not that bad.
It'd have to be Tarasenko at 50% retained, and those two going back. Or Tarasenko at like 3.5 or whatever, 3 mil retained. I don't know. Too much math.
So I don't think that one's going to happen. All right, moving on. Slater Koekkoek. Tyler wrote about Ken Holland fishing for depth defensemen on Thursday in the rumors blog at Oilersnation.com. Yesterday, we got the announcement, Slater Koekkoek, 2 years at a $925,000 for his cap hit. For me, I liked what Koekkoek brought to the team. Obviously, he missed the bulk of the season with a broken collarbone. He came back, though, right for the playoffs and played all 4 games against the Jets. He averaged about, I'm doing this off the top of my head while my article's loading, but somewhere around 10 to 13 minutes a night, something like that. So he's a depth defenseman.
Did you hear his comment, though, about when he came back?
Yeah, that he wasn't 100%.
Steel plate in his, steel plate 60%. In his collarbone. Yeah, like that's if he came back and played at that, that's pretty impressive. That's needless to say he was not at his best. So I'm just going to start off with Slater Koekkoek. What did you guys think of a 2-year deal for Koekkoek at $925,000? Personally, I was a little bit surprised about getting a second year for him, but at the end of the day, it's not a huge deal. I mean, Chris Russell's on a 1-year deal. He'll come off the books, and then it just seems like Koekkoek slides into that spot on the overall depth chart. So second year, curious, not a big deal overall. What do you guys think? Rick, I'll start with you. Yeah, second year is completely, you can put it in the AHL and it goes away, you're fine. I don't mind the 2-year deal. It is what it is. It's a little bit of stability for him, a little bit for us as well. You don't know what happens with Russell at the end of the year, so you just kind of move on. You still got that. You still got all 6 your defensemen signed, I think, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, all 6 your defensemen should be signed. So you're laughing. You're going into next year, at least with that part taken care of, even if none of the rookies step up. So you're fine there. The money's fine. He was a solid player. Him and Russell can be the 6 and 7. And yeah, there's not a lot of downside to it.
Unless you're Willie Lags, as Struds puts it. This is probably not good news for Willie Lags. Dan, you're next up. Slater Koekkoek. Koekkoek's a good replacement level player, and you guys said it well when you said that Chris Russell, he's just our Chris Russell replacement. Fingers crossed that Russell doesn't get another contract, but not necessarily, I guess. But anyways, for Koekkoek, I'm okay with it. He seems like a good enough player when he's playing the games, even when he's at 60%. So it's not the worst deal that we've made this offseason. Tyler, wrap us up. Slater Koekkoek.
Yeah, this was a really interesting one for me to kind of listen to the public perception on the deal here, because I really like Slater Koekkoek. I said in that rumors blog, which went out like a couple hours before the signing broke, he was my preferred option on the free agent market. He's familiar with the system. He plays the left side. He can play the right side. He started off really, really well with this team last year. He can kill penalties. I think he moves pretty well. He moves the puck okay for a 6'7" defenseman. This was a great fit. And the second year, people were losing their minds. He's only 27 years old. Like, there's all the reason to believe that if Slater Koekkoek comes in and plays well, he could be an everyday defenseman for them in that second year. It's not like they randomly gave him one. So let's go through the two situations here. Slater Koekkoek comes in and has a great year, and at 27 years old, takes a step forward. Okay, now you have that guy for $950K next season, and you're laughing. It's a bargain. If he has just an average season, $950K is what you have to pay for a seventh defenseman anyways. So go out in the offseason, Russell's off the books, find a new lefty, keep Koekkoek as your 7, or if he has a bad season, bury him and it costs you nothing. This is what good organizations with money and rich owners should be doing. Use the cap to your advantage. Getting a second year of Koekkoek only has upsides to it. Again, bury him, keep him as your 7th D, do whatever if he's bad. And if he's good, because again, he's only 27 and he's never really had a permanent NHL home. If he's really good, you have a second year. That's an absolute bargain. I didn't understand the people complaining about the second year. You need to find something else to complain about, or you need to find something else to be mad about, because that's not a hill to die on. And to steal a line from Low Tide, if you die on every hill, eventually people stop listening to you. And the people who are mad about the second year, it's just like, how can you not look at the situation and understand how irrelevant it is?
Yeah, I agree with you. Like I said, when I wrote the article, and it was interesting that the second year comment that I put in was what people seemed to pick out as if I was complaining about it. I just thought it was curious that they signed him to a second year, but I was like, but whatever, who cares? Another thing that people are upset about is the fancies. Last year, he had a 40% Corsi rating, which is not ideal, obviously, but I would also counter by saying he also had a 94.1 PDO. And if you're looking at PDO, 94.1 can certainly get a bump in both his shooting percentage and save percentage. So, well, and again, it's we're talking about the third pairing defenseman that's signed for, well, I don't even know what league minimum is now. Is it 800 grand, 750, something like that?
Gotta be close to it.
So it's like, he's what? He got 150 some, I'm bad at math, 170 grand raise. Who cares? Dan?
Well, and it's like you said, Beg Milk, like he doesn't show up well in analytics. Name one Oilers defenseman that currently shows up well in analytics. Like, I think we have to learn to accept that the Ken Holland regime doesn't agree with the publicly viewable analytics department. And that's, you can be upset with that, but don't just keep going back to that well, because it is what it is. This is the Edmonton Oilers, and they aren't an analytics team on defense. That's just the way it is.
Hockey's very hard to be run by analytics, like in the same amount as baseball. Analytics to hockey has to be like the mashed potatoes to the gravy, to the turkey on the plate. I think too many people try and push that first and just push it. It needs to be the side dish for everything else. It's not baseball. Everything doesn't start from the exact same spot, the exact same way. There's so many variables involved. I believe in analytics. I believe they're the part, and they can help. But it's not the main course on the plate.
It's a tool of evaluation.
Far too many people assume it is.
It's a tool of evaluation. It's like, it's part of the toolbox. And if you should be looking at eye tests, you should have scouts, and you should have some numbers to be like, hey, is my eyes matching the spreadsheets? Like, I think you need both. Sorry,
that's okay. I think that what we should be clamoring for is more of an analytics discussion going into the Oilers organization. But to be mad that the current signings continue to follow the exact same formula of not aligning with the statistics that you want them to, like, it's not happening. And so, yeah, I don't know. You go back to what Tyler said from Low Tide, where it's just, if this is what we're going to continue to die on, is the second year of $925,000 players, we got a lot of bigger problems to look forward to.
It's like Brownlee said, I don't know if it was in the mailbag or one of his more recent articles at Oilersnation.com. He's like, if you rely solely on analytics as that's your only thing that you're looking at to evaluate hockey players, we would still have Martin Marenson as a first pairing defenseman. So just something to consider. Okay. So that brings me, so now we've basically got our left side is set, right? We've got Daryl's up front, Duncan Keith, Slater Koekkoek, Chris Russell, and then, the Brobergs and the Samorokovs are bubbling under, if you will. My question for you guys is, how important is it that Darnell Nurse stays healthy this year? Because as I'm thinking about it, I'm working on an article tomorrow. I'm working on random thoughts tomorrow for Oilers Nation. And as I'm thinking about the left side of the defense specifically, and the right side too, Darnell Nurse's health has got to be one of the most important things for the Edmonton Oilers this year. Does anybody disagree with that?
Okay. I'm going to agree with you to the fullest extent, and Waz might end up clipping this and putting it on TikTok, and people are going to call me a fucking idiot. But his health might legitimately be more important than like McDavid or Draisaitl's, right? Like, if McDavid or Draisaitl were to go down for 10 games, you can move Nuge to the middle. One of McDavid or Draisaitl is still there to be like the driving force of your offense. Like you could probably overcome 10 games of no McDavid or no Draisaitl. 10 games of Darnell Nurse and imagining what this blue line would look like without him is incredibly worrisome, because if Darnell Nurse were to go down, all of a sudden the left side of your blue line is Duncan Keith, Slater Koekkoek, and Chris Russell, with a right side that is Barry, Ceci, and Evan Bouchard. There's not a lot of strong defensive players in that group. Like if they lose Darnell Nurse, knock on all the wood around you. That could really, really fuck up their season.
Yeah, it's highlighted. It's highlighted more by the loss of Larson too, because an Adam Larson is a guy that you then slide up into that lineup, and he helps you defensively on that top pairing for the 10 games or whatever. So yeah, it's an absolutely fair point.
It's like I was looking at the roster and I was just looking at the defense, and I'm getting into Kool-Aid season, right? We're getting into the back half of August now, starting to get excited, starting to get ready for the boys to get going again. I was on a sales call yesterday. We're talking about beat casts again. We're talking about wrap ups again. We're talking about all the shit that we do in season. And then I started looking at the roster. I was like, oh, we need to wrap Darnell Nurse and bubble wrap, or we need to like steel plate him or something. Rick, when you think about the defense and Darnell Nurse specifically, how important is his health to you?
Oh, it's huge. I think you guys nailed it there. I will say, however, though, you look at his career so far, and other than 16-17, dude has played in at least 70 games. Like, I'm not terribly.
Dear God, knock on some wood.
It's definitely terrifying. Like if that were to happen, but I mean, there's probably a lot of teams in the league in that same situation, with like one player going down. But when you look at the games played, I'm not terribly worried. He hit them all last year, missed 11 the year before. Oh no, we played 72 the year before, so missed one, didn't miss any. So I mean, I'm not worried about that per se, but I am worried that if it were to happen, I'm not worried too much about the if, but if it does happen, then yeah, we're in a bit of trouble.
I'm sorry to put that into
you don't know what Broberg and Samorukov look like when it comes to camp, right? So it's not necessarily going to be those three. It's most likely going to be those three, but maybe one of those guys one of the new kids can jump up and eat some more minutes. But yeah, it's troublesome if it happens. I'm just not worried that it will happen.
Injuries are just hard to predict, though, right? Like, I mean, the odds of him playing all season next year are very good, but like that idea existing in my head does not sit well.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Oilers fans. I put that into the universe. And if you're listening to this and you hate this, send your tasteful nudes to Tyler@Oilersnation.com. Go ahead.
But that's that's been the common theme, I think, from a lot of people that have been critical over this offseason, is that it's just Ken Holland continues to gamble, and it gambles with a season hinging on one or two elements of this team, working out properly, or we have to bail out into a trade situation or whatever. So it's those forced errors. Like, I don't want to say errors, but it's just, you make decisions and you set yourself up for more gambles and more cards in the house of cards that if they fall out, it's a collapse.
If you're going to have a collapse, though, you better have Cornerstone Insurance in your side, because they've got all the insurance products you could ever hope for. For 90 years and 4 generations, Cornerstone Insurance has been serving Edmontonians with a family and employee-owned business right here in the City of Champions. And if you go to cornerstoneins.ca, cornerstoneins.ca, left-hand side of the screen, there's a Citizens of the Nation tab. Click that, baby, get yourself a discount. Again, cornerstoneins.ca. Last little bit of housekeeping. Sorry, Tyler, what do you want to say?
Oh, I was just going to say an observation as I was looking through the Puckpedia page for the Oilers. We were talking about the blue line there. And you mentioned left side, Nurse, Keith, and Slater Koekkoek. Right side, Barry, Ceci, Bouchard. All of those guys are already under contract for the following season as well. This is going to be the Oilers' blue line, presumably, for the next 2 years here. And then I looked at the forward group. Well, let's look at their top 6. For the hypothetical year, let's say Kailer Yamamoto. Let's say Yamamoto signs for 2 years, $1.9 million. The Oilers' top 6 next year: McDavid, Draisaitl, Hyman, Nugent Hopkins, Yamamoto. Fogle is signed. They're all signed except Jesse Puljujarvi, basically. Zach Kassian, he has a contract for the season. Derek Ryan is signed. Devin Shore is signed. The Oilers, I mean, they've committed a ton of cap already. If Yamamoto takes 1.9, they'll basically have $5 million next offseason. And the only things they'll have to do are sign Puljujarvi, sign McLeod, sign a goalie. So it's not a ton of money to do that, obviously, especially when you consider that Puljujarvi might want a decent ticket if he has a good year. But like the Oilers roster that Ken Holland has constructed right now, that is more or less the roster we're going to see for like the next 2 years. Like I can't see them making any more big changes at anywhere. Like they don't have money and they don't have room on the roster.
Unless Brandon Perlini, or as Josh T. Park calls him, Lamborghini Perlini, signed a 1-year contract worth $750,000. Oh, there's the league minimum. $750K for Brandon Perlini, unless he has a ripping year. Gets himself a raise.
Look, I still think they try and get out of Cassian throughout the summer, or throughout the season.
Yeah.
So that's I think they're that's between now and this time next year, or like right before UFA season next year, they'll have to open up that money. You need a goaltender, you need Puljujarvi. So I think Cassian still gets moved here in the next year.
Is that UFA 22?
UFC
2020.
UFC 1856. Let's talk about Perlini for a second. To me, it's another depth signing for the Oilers. He's an interesting scratch ticket, though. You know what I mean? On this podcast, we've talked a lot about scratch tickets over the last couple of years. Ken Holland didn't really do that this year, but with Brandon Perlini, he is a little bit of a scratch ticket, but he's one that's got some interesting upside. In 2016-17, he scored 14 goals with the Arizona Coyotes in 57 games. In 2017-18, he scored 17 goals in 74 games with the Coyotes. And then in 2018-19, he had 14 goals in 68 games between the Coyotes and the Blackhawks. And from there, the wheels just fell off. So this is a guy who's scored some goals in the NHL before. Things didn't go well for him. Played last year in the Swiss League, and now he's back. What do you make of this depth signing? That's, it's low risk, potentially high reward with a guy like Perlini. Tyler, what do you think?
I don't mind it. Whenever, again, like I talked about this with Koekkoek, whenever it's someone making under $1 million, take those gambles. The Oilers are still only at like 43 or 44 contracts. I'd like to see him go out and make a few more of these. Go get Tyler Bozak on a 1-year, $900,000 deal. Go scoop up a couple PTOs and give them looks. Like
you got your eye on for a PTO. This is PTO everyone season.
Yeah, hashtag PTO everyone. Bozak. I really have my eye on Tyler Bozak. He's sitting there without a contract. The Oilers, could take a chance on a centerman. Why not? There's no downside to bringing an extra veteran centerman into camp. He's from Saskatchewan. He scored double-digit goals or on that pace every year in his career. Take a chance on a right shot center like Tyler Bozak because you don't have a lot of them. But with Perlini, if they bring in a guy like Bozak, whoever, if it's under $1 million, take the chance. If they're skilled, you never know when they're going to click. Remember when the Oilers brought in Patrick Maroon from Anaheim? What was Patrick Maroon when they acquired him? A guy that Anaheim had to retain salary to get rid of. And
he traded Martin Gernat
for Maroon with money retained. You just never know. Zach Kassian, when the Oilers brought him in, granted he had off-ice problems, but they swapped Ben Scrivens for him, and Ben Scrivens wasn't even an NHL goalie anymore, really, when they traded him. So sometimes you take these scratch tickets, and listen, more often than not, they end up being Joakim Nygard or whatever the hell his name was, or it's a Valentin Zykov that you claimed off waivers or whoever, and they don't really work out. But once in a while, you hit a diamond in the rough, and you only hit those diamonds in the rough when you go and take chances and buy those scratch tickets and go digging for them and give these guys looks. So I like to move on Perlini. I want to see more like it.
Dan, what do you think? A little bit of Lamborghini Perlini.
I'm predicting that at some point this season, there's a large clamoring of Oiler fans that are pushing for Perlini to get called up from the AHL, and it's gonna rip the fan base apart for a moment, kind of like Nicholas Patan did to the Jets fan base a couple years ago when they just refused to call him up, quote unquote. I could see him pushing for some minutes in the NHL, but I don't think that it's going to really turn out that well. Although I'm with Tyler though on you make, these are the kind of gambles that you make that affect you at the AHL level or below. When the ceiling is you get an NHL player, you might as well gamble with some AHL playing time. And if it doesn't work out, okay, the Condors have a guy that's not scoring enough for them.
And a major difference here too is we're signing scratch tickets for the bottom chunk of the roster. This isn't bringing Ty Ratty in with the hopes that he can click with McDavid on the
Tobias
first line.
Reeder.
Well, if Tobias Reeder had only scored 10 to 12 more goals, the Oilers may have made the playoffs. So this isn't that. So I'm curious to see what a guy like Perlini can do, in the sense that, he played in the Swiss League last year. That had to hurt the pride of a guy who is a pro athlete. And you'd have to think he's going to come into town motivated and ready to go. So can he earn himself a job? We'll see. I'm looking forward to finding out. I like competition in the lineup. Back to the Kailer Yamamoto talk. Hot Trash. I like this name. Hot Trash says 3 years, $3.15 million.
With no offer sheet in there.
I agree. I don't think they could afford that right now, unless Cassian moves between now and the time he gets signed, but that seems unlikely. So I'll keep checking on as we wrap up the podcast, but that's where we're at. If you got guesses on Kailer Yamamoto's next deal, but you're not in the mix on Twitter right now while we're recording, hit us up anyway. Nation Real Life's the other one. ON Radio Podcast on Twitter and Instagram. Also follow Nation Real Life. There's good shit there too. We interviewed Andy Sutton yesterday. See that. All right. So a lot of housekeeping got done with the Oilers this year. Again, just to recap, Tyler Benson, last chance, ? Maybe. Slater Koekkoek, 2 years. What are you going to do? His name's a party. Got to like that. And Brandon Perlini, 1 year, $750K. Now, we debated a little bit about talking about this next one, but this past week, the Winnipeg Jets said you will need to be fully vaccinated or have proof of a negative COVID test to be able to attend Jets games. Yesterday, that was Thursday, CTV News from here in the city put out an article saying the Oilers are also thinking about doing the same thing. And the quote from the Oilers was, "We are in ongoing conversations with Alberta Health, Canadian venues, the NHL, and other key stakeholders. Once finalized, we will communicate our plan at an appropriate time in advance of the 2021-22 NHL season. We will use this experience and expertise to build an operational plan that keeps our employees and guests safe while offering the best fan experience." So, boys, was this a surprise to you? For me, I'll just start off. To me, it wasn't. These are very, very big companies that are very lawyery with all kinds of insurance issues that they have to deal with. To me, those three things combined just led me to believe that fully vaccinated or a negative test before the game, it just seemed obvious to me. What do you guys think, Dan?
Yeah, I give credit to the Winnipeg Jets and the San Jose Sharks for being the two first ones to kind of blaze the trail in the NHL for this. Going to an NHL game is not a right. And so, it just like every other business, just like every other person's household, just like everything, people have the right to set up the protocols that they want to have in place. And credit to the Jets and the Sharks for not only blazing the trail, but also taking the most flack, because they are getting blasted. If you've checked their mentions since then, it's ugly. And as four people that dabble in social media quite a bit here, we know what it's like to have those kinds of explosions coming at you because you're trying to do the right thing in your mindset. And so, credit to them. I hope the Oilers follow the lead and try to get this done. We need to get vaccinated. We need to be able to beat this stuff, just like we have polio, just like we have all those other crappy things that we had to deal with in the past. So yeah, credit to the Jets and the Sharks for starting it and having this conversation continue, which apparently it's continuing here in Edmonton.
Well, it's, to me, like, Tyler, I'll come to you next. To me, it's just, okay, the Jets and the Sharks are in, the dominoes to fall got to be coming, right? Tyler, what do you think about the whole thing?
Yeah, I'm with Dan 100%. It's a private business. They have the right to kind of do whatever they want in this regard. And I mean, if the Oilers reach out, let's say the Oilers were to reach out to all their season ticket holders for the upcoming season and say, season ticket holders, would you prefer only vaccinated fans in the stands? What are they going to do? What if 95% of the season ticket holders say, yeah, I'm only going if it's fully vaccinated in the stands? The Oilers would be looking out for their business interests at that point. So I would like to see it. I think it should be 100% fully vaccinated. And that's just kind of my take on it. I don't think we need to get into it too much more than that. I think it's good for everyone to go get the shot and be vaccinated. And before you tweet me with the, do you know you can still get COVID with the vaccine? Look at hospitalization numbers. Look at the ICU numbers. It's all about keeping those down. And if people want to go to Oilers games, you know what? Get the jab. It'll be okay. And it'll help keep pressure off our hospitals if another wave does come. Just do it. Like, it's just so frustrating and stuff to say this shit, but like, just go get the damn needle.
I drive all the time with no seatbelt on because they do not prevent car accidents. So I'm
like, the great analogy is the one about headlights, right? I don't turn on my headlights when I drive. I can see just fine without them. And other people, well, if you don't like it, look out for me. That's your problem. The government can't tell me to put my headlights on. That's infringing on my rights.
We're not gonna Rick, wrap us up on this whole thing. You are a guy with season tickets, so wrap us up.
Yeah, I'm fully on board for it. I think the precedent was set months ago when the NFL started it. They obviously start their season first, therefore they have to announce their stuff first. Just the way it goes, it's chronological order. So yeah, I think do it, man. There is no more conversation about this. Just do it. And
if you're mad about it, you can be mad at me while I'm sitting at Rogers Place. Sorry.
Yeah, while you're watching Sportsnet.
And people are allowed to be mad, and that's totally fine. Like, add us with it, be mad at us for it, but that's our opinion. And we have some things to back it up, and teams that are doing it. So
seems inevitable, in my opinion.
Yep.
But that's my opinion. And if you're listening to this, you want my opinion because that's why you're here. But we're going to move on. So we'll see. We'll follow. We're going to see what the Oilers do. We're going to see what the rest of the NHL does. But if I was a betting man, which I am, I'm going to guess that the dominoes shall fall. Let's move on, though.
We know what the NFL is doing. They've got some serious penalties out there for teams. It's just a trickle-down effect. It'll happen in the AHL. It'll just a matter of time. While camps haven't even started yet, they don't have to put out the official word yet. It's going to happen.
This past week, I did a giveaway on Oilers Nation's Twitter. It was just a retweet and follow contest. It was pretty casual, but we gave away all 3 of the kids' books authored by Zach Hyman. And I just want to say the response was, and Dan, I know you can back me up on it. The response to the giveaway was pretty awesome. It's just people were super excited. It was just a fun, easy giveaway. So we picked a winner today for all 3 of those books. Right. So he's got 3 out. We're giving them all to you. But what I want to tease you with here today is that we're going to do another one next week. So if you missed out on winning Zach Hyman's books, and again, if you got kids, or I saw some, I saw some teachers of young kids were in the mix as well. These are going to be great. The stories are good. I was flipping through them. The illustrations are awesome. They're going to be great for the kids in your life. So watch out for us next week. Maybe I'll do it on Instagram. But then the third one will be part of a Photoshop contest that I'll be launching towards the end of August. If you've been an Oilers Nation fan for quite some time, if you've been a citizen with us through thick and thin, you'll love the Photoshop contests. And I like picking people for finalists that it doesn't necessarily mean you're the best Photoshopper, just that you made me laugh. If you made me laugh, that's what matters. Okay. So watch out for that. Zach Hyman giveaways will have some cool stuff coming up. Second of all, if you own a retail shop here in the city, I am still looking for a local spot to buy 3 Ryan Nugent-Hopkins jerseys. I never expected this to be as difficult as it is. I never expected it. Yeah, I see what you got behind you, Rick.
I bought that during the podcast the last time we brought this up. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago. So that one I ordered online.
I know where you got it.
There is no number. There is no number on it. That's an ongoing.
Who's the leading candidate?
I've got I think it's right now. I think it's Bouchard right now.
Really? Not going with a little Zach Hyman action?
Maybe a Duncan Keith?
Yeah, I wanted to go something a little less, a little safer. And you know what? Something we've nurtured from the very, very beginning. Yep. And you know what? It'll also upset Jay Downton. So that's only part of it. Part of the fun.
Good call.
Yeah, of course. If you remember, that's a throwback to probably 2 years ago now, where Jay Downton said that Bouchard was tradable because he doesn't have the fire.
Dude, I will admit this. He made a proposal. He made a proposal to me, a trade proposal. I think it was like one of the last couple of times I saw him, and he's like, "Yeah, like I'd move Bouchard in that one." So he's still on the tip of his tongue. Yeah, he's not still, like gotten over this. He still doesn't think there's the engine in there.
Listen, it may be a little bit of envy because Evan Bouchard looks like he's way past his age, and Jay just wishes that he could be that young again.
They are the same age, I'm pretty sure, Evan Bouchard and Jay. So I could see it. I could see it. And actually, friend of the nation, Sam Akehurst, sent me an Instagram post. Dad is out with Ryan McLeod on a boat today. They're having a good time. So the boys are having some hashtag fun, get a little bit of vitamin D out there in the sun. Wear sunscreen, boys. Nobody wants a sunburn out there. Oh, I see. Tyler's in the studio. I didn't even think of this. So we're doing the buttons again. Dan, get your buttons ready.
Last week of me not being able to play my buttons, so I apologize.
It is time for the Deuce Vodka Hot and Cold Performers of the Week. If you head on over to deucevodka.com, there's a store locator right there. It just says find in store, okay? I need you to click that. Very easy. Use your finger if you're on your phone. Point that big sausage finger of yours at the find it button. There, you will get all the locations where you can get Deuce Vodka, as well as an email to reach out if you're in Saskatchewan and you want to get in touch. So that's sales@deucevodka.com. But first, deucevodka.com has got all the info you need, including the store locator. If you are of legal drinking age, make yourself a cocktail. It's Friday. You've earned it. You've worked enough for the week. You made it through without drop kicking a coworker. And for that, I salute you. Have yourself a Deuce Vodka cocktail. As we do every week, we start with our veggies. Last 7 days, a little bit of a downside in our lives. Mr. Yaremchuk, you are up first. Your Deuce Vodka Cold Performer of the Week.
A big upside in my life has been the return of the Canadian Football League. I'm a big football fan. I love the CFL. I love the Elks. Dan is rocking an Elks hat as we record this podcast. But one of the things I do not like when I start talking about the CFL is the people who, for no reason, unprompted, still to this day feel the need to go, they'd all get their asses kicked by like the worst NFL team, right? And it's like, there are no CFL fans out there who say things like, this player is good enough to be in the NFL, or this CFL team could beat this NFL team. No CFL fan even like brings that up, but there's this weird subsection of sports fans who always feel the need to shit on something that is uniquely Canadian and uniquely ours. And I will never understand it. The CFL haters were out in full force this last week. I didn't let it dampen my parade, but I still wanted to just let it be known that it's an absolute joke when people feel the need to constantly take that stance. CFL haters are my cold performer of the week.
That's a joke. It's an absolute joke.
Yes.
It's a joke right there.
Great minds, Dan. Great minds. Speaking of Dan, you're up next, sir. Your Deuce Vodka Cold Performer of the Week.
Well, if you've been following me on social media, I have been tagged by one of my friends' teams in the local athletic association to come out and play some baseball with the boys and girls. And yesterday, I had a pretty good moment. I was playing in right field, really excited, hyped up to be in the game, and one of the big bats from the other team came up, smacked a ball right at me, and I was in full watching baseball at old John Ducey Park mode and completely just didn't pay attention. The ball landed. I got a nice big error for it. They hit a home run thanks to me. So I'm going to give myself a cold performer of the week.
Burr. Oh, that's cold.
Is there anything worse in rec softball than the run to go get the ball after you let one get past you in the outfield? One of the worst feelings in rec sports.
Disgusting. I ran out of my clothes running too fast to try and get that ball because I felt so awful for falling asleep at the wheel.
One of the last times I played slow pitch, I was playing left field, I think, and I was in too far. And a guy was really swinging from the shoelaces, and he popped it straight up to me. And as it's coming down to my glove, I yelled at him, hit the gym next time. And the very, very next time he was at bat, he clapped it over my head because I was in too far again. And I had to do that run of shame. So I feel you, Dan. I feel you. Rick, you're next up. Deuce Vodka Cold Form of the Week.
Well, just to go back to Tyler's quick little thing there, for the record, there's been multiple CFL players go up and become all-pro players. I have yet to find one NFL player who came down and did anything significant in the CFL from the 80s on. Okay.
Well, I
and
remember,
and two, I want to the people out in Finland, out in Sweden, out in Switzerland and Germany, do they sit there and shit on their hockey leagues?
No.
Because it's not the NHL?
No.
Like, I don't know who the fuck these people are. Like, I don't know why they speak like this, but it's like a Canadian thing where if we like to take dumps on our own stuff for some stupid ass reason.
Yeah, it's the proximity to America, though. And you got American television all the time talking about NFL, and we don't give the CFL the same coverage in this country as we do the NFL. That's I think that, like, you know, outside of TSN and Sportsnet, they just don't get the same coverage that the NFL does. It's a huge production down there.
Yeah,
it's
but where's that?
Kind of
where's
a
that
niche
national?
sport up
Where's
here.
where's that national pride?
Agreed.
This is ours.
Agreed.
That's what you get out of the hockey fans in Sweden and Switzerland and Finland and all that fun stuff. Like,
you also live in a city that is a part of the CFL. You remember that there's a lot of cities in this country that don't have a CFL franchise, and so those cities are more desired to go after their NFL team and cheer for a big production like that.
Stop giving people a reason to shit on Canada, please.
I'm with you 100%. I just think I just think the reality, and it sucks.
Dan anti-CFL.
Yes, exactly. As I wear my Elks hat, but yeah, it's a fair point by Tyler.
Rick,
you know
back
what?
to you.
To go with it, so yesterday, I don't know who to blame this on, so I really can't blame it on one. But yesterday I was driving home, and I was coming down the road in front of my apartment here, and there's a lot of trees. I saw 3 different individual leaves fall.
Yeah.
The leaves have started to fall.
Yep.
Like I said, I don't know who to blame this on, but the leaves are starting to fall. It's great because it's sports, but I've enjoyed this hot weather. I enjoy the sun. So yeah, I like I said, I don't know who to give this to, but the leaves are falling. The world's turning. It's about to be dark 24 hours a day again. Gloom and doom's coming, but at least that brings sports.
Fuck you, Captain Planet, I think is what Rick's saying. Oh boy. Oh
Captain
boy.
Planet,
oh boy.
thank you.
Oh boy. All right. My Deuce Vodka Cold Performer of the Week. If you've been listening to Real Life at all, or even here, I think I mentioned it, this year was the year that I wanted to learn how to golf. All my friends golf. Everybody at the nation, for the most part, golfs. They're always out. I don't go because I don't know how to do it. So I'm working on it. But my cold performer of the week is my fucking driver game, because I think if I went out, like, I'm not golfing in the Oilers Nation Open that's coming up at the end of the month, but if I was, I may not even tee off with the driver, because that thing, it's where it goes is anyone's business. Like, there'll be times when I just dummy the ball, just fucking drive it a ton. And I'm like, whoa. So I'll be like, I'll try to do that again. And then I just duff it, slice it way over into the next hole or something. So my driver game is my cold performer of the week.
We have been hoodwinked, bamboozled, and flat out deceived.
Led astray, run amok.
I missed that one. Sorry, I missed my script. Sorry. I'll get it here. Here's a do-over, Tyler.
All right.
We have been hoodwinked, bamboozled, led astray, run amok, and flat out deceived.
I didn't know we had Stephen A. Smith on the podcast. There he was. He just popped in. And now he's out. Okay. Flipping the ledger. It's time to end off this week's podcast with the bright sides in our life. So I'm going to reverse the order here, and I'm going to start with Rick first. Rick, you're first up. Your Deuce Vodka hot performer of the week.
This is a little bit to do with Tyler's negative part there, but the return of football. The Elks are playing CFL's full go. We have finally gotten past the last Sunday without any NFL. Starting this Sunday, we have NFL football from now till the week after Super Bowl. I love the game, both on either side of the border. I'll spend Thursday for, no, I guess, do we have CFL games on Thursday this year? Yeah. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday watching them. We'll go to hockey for the rest of it. Let's go. Sports are back. This is a good time of year.
Feeling hot. Huh?
Nice pull.
Good. Thank you. Dan, you're next up. Deuce Vodka, hot performer of the week.
My Deuce Vodka hot performer of the week is going to go to the Boston Red Sox for yesterday, having assistant GM of the Calgary Flames, Chris Snow, come down and throw out the first pitch for his 40th birthday. And for those of you who may not be aware yet, where have you been? Chris Snow, Snowy Strong, hashtag Snowy Strong, has been fighting ALS now, and a diagnosis of ALS now for a couple of years. And, you know, putting up a hell of a fight. I know that he's lost some mobility and working through that kind of stuff. But to see him out there throwing that first pitch, man, did he look angry and ready to throw that pitch. And so it was awesome to see. You love to see it. So the Boston Red Sox, tip of the hat to you guys for putting that together for Chris, and Chris for throwing out the first pitch. It's not easy. I know.
That's hot. That is true. You did throw the first pitch at a prospects game a little while ago.
Oh boy, was it bad.
It wasn't as bad as when Cam tried to do it with a hockey stick, but
that's true.
Terrible.
That's true.
That was
Not
awful.
only did it with a hockey stick, but I'm fairly certain he came like 17 minutes late. We had to convince them to
they delayed the game.
The limo couldn't get here, something like that. The helicopter had to stop at a different helipad. I don't know what the hell the story was, but yeah, Coom was held up a little bit. Then he came out with a hockey stick.
He stopped the helicopter at the Dairy Queen to pick up the ice cream cake.
Mm-hmm. It's true. It's delicious. Tyler, you're next up.
Saskatchewan joke.
Deuce Vodka, hot performer of the week.
Has everyone gone but me?
I haven't yet,
Oh,
but
you haven't gone.
are next up.
Okay, well, first off, I'm going to give some love to Kelsey Mitchell, because this would have happened after our last podcast. Friend of the pod, if you go back, episode 113, we interviewed Kelsey, Sherwood Park product. She has a great story on how she got into cycling and all of that. Well, she captured an Olympic gold. Friend of the podcast, so a big shout out to Kelsey Mitchell for capturing an Olympic gold. And a secondary one, Major League Baseball, their Field of Dreams game last night was really, really cool. Thought that was excellent. Want to see more of it. Kelsey Mitchell and Major League Baseball get my hot performer of the week, but Kelsey Mitchell is the dominant one because that was freaking awesome.
It's getting hot in here. Oh, it was cool. It was cool that we got a chance to talk to who is now an Olympic gold medalist. Pretty fun, cool. You know what? Bonus cold performer of the week. I missed the Olympics already. It was nice to throw it on during the day and just have some random sport to watch. I liked it. I missed it.
I made $100 thanks to Kelsey Mitchell.
Nice.
Plus 400. Thank you, Kelsey. Very cool.
Kelsey winning gold medals and Dan money. I like it. To wrap things up, my Deuce Vodka hot performer of the week is Rick. You're going to be excited about this one. Taco Bell is building a 4-lane, 2-story drive-through. And if you haven't seen this fucking thing, it looks like a spaceship full of deliciousness. And I cannot wait. It's a new concept from Taco Bell set to open in the summer of 2022. And if you followed this podcast or real life for any length of time, you know Cantina in Vegas. This is not that, but it is a new flavor of excellence from Taco Bell. And for them to come out with a 4-lane drive-through, serving tacos faster, getting them in my mouth even faster. I love it.
In Minnesota? Like, who is in charge of Ice District?
Yeah.
Who's putting Ice District? How the hell did we miss out on this?
Yep.
How is this in Minnesota?
We've got a 2-level
Ice
Boston
District
pizza.
Is right there.
We got a 2-level Boston pizza that serves $50 pizzas. But no,
Minnesota is basically the Alberta of America.
Yeah. They've got them all. We've got them all. Right.
They're cold sometimes.
My Deuce Vodka hot performer of the week is the 4-lane drive-through Taco Bell. The picture is sexy. I'm hungry. I'm excited. I'm very excited. Shout out to you, Taco Bell. Changing the game. Dan, I need a button.
Ooh. Keep going back to that well.
What button is that?
That's like it's supposed to be from South Park. You know, when he's laying,
Quirks, I believe.
Yes.
Shout out to Randy, best character on the show, in my opinion.
So there's a new button for you, Tyler. You can bring that image up for us.
And actually, if we're talking buttons, Tyler said we're back on the buttons next week, maybe.
Yeah.
If you got suggestions, I know he's brought some new buttons to the board. recently, but if you got ideas, hit us up. ON Radio Podcast. Just send us a timestamp on a clip or something, or just an idea that we can use for new hot and cold performer buttons. Dan brought it up early. I'll bring back Ask the Idiots for next week as well. I'll come up with some questions for you boys. Maybe I'll even poll the audience. Maybe I'll do that. Until then, let's wrap this up. From Sherwood Ford, DoorDash, Cornerstone Insurance, and Deuce Vodka, I'm Bagnook, saying thank you for being here for episode 153. It's always great to have you. But if I'm going to criticize you, fair listeners, no new reviews this week. I was looking forward to reading some newer podcast reviews. So hit us up with the reviews. I will read them. Tell me you hate me. I don't care. I'll read it. Well, I will care. I'll cry when the podcast's over, but I'll read it anyway, and the boys can laugh at me. Deal? Yeah. That's all I'm asking. Leave us a podcast review. Tell your friends, family, cousins, coworkers, whatever it is about Oilers Nation Radio. Help us grow this baby, because when Tyler sends out the reports at the end of the month, there's some hilarious data in there. Like when we were the second best hockey podcast in India. I don't know where we're at in India these days, but there was a moment. I'd like to get back there. Top of the mountain. That's episode 153 of Oilers Nation Radio. Thanks for being here. Have a great weekend, everybody.
Shout out Shane Corson.
Happy birthday.
And happy birthday, Alex.
Thanks for listening to Oilers Nation Radio, delivered by DoorDash. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram.